Good day. We're going to be talking about your upcoming essay that's due in just a few days. I want to go over the assignment one more time, make sure you're clear about that, and also review one more time about MLA formatting. Make sure that you're understanding how your essay should appear and how you're supposed to make sure that you use your citations in the proper way. So, if you will, the first essay assignment module, if you go down, you'll see the first essay assignment. You click on it, and it will open. And this is what it says. This opening part saying that you're developing an essay argumentative in nature, so you're developing an approach. You're going to rely on facts, personal experience sometimes that have a bearing on the situation, key examples that are specific examples. You're going to narrow this by looking at those examples and discussing a particular aspect and keeping an approach. The topic is fairly broad. You get to narrow it to a particular approach that you want to look at. You're going to follow MLA format, which means you're going to have a double-spaced essay with a header. You're going to have a title, paragraphs, works cited page, and you're going to use evidence, so you're going to discuss it in present tense. You don't need the I's, we's, or the you's. You don't need those kind of statements. If you want to make a statement saying, I think that, then just write the part that comes after that. If you want to say, I think that college is important, just say college is important. We don't need the I think that. And there are going to be a few other phrases I want to go over that are unnecessary when writing an essay. The topic here is about, is higher education worth the price? This is what your focus should be on, right there. That's the topic. You're looking at its role, its importance, its function in our society. I gave you a couple of comments. For instance, now almost 13 years ago, Eric Kelderman made a comment that 55% of people polled in 2010 agree that a college education is necessary for a person to be successful. In 2014, 4 years after Kelderman, Glenn Harlan Reynolds said that many college students don't learn much. And said a recent book found that 36% of college students, quote, did not demonstrate any significant improvement in learning, end quote, over a full 4 years of college. That half the students don't take a single course which they have to write more than 20 pages over a semester. So the amount of education, higher education, according to Aram and Roska, doesn't have to be all that high. So looking at these comments and other articles that you're going to find through your research, you were asked to select an avenue of interest for the area of higher education and argue how that aspect should be considered. You may want to look at particular articles that you look at and react to one of those. Give you an idea. Julie Lawrence in 2014 in an article in Education News made this comment about how Americans view higher education. A growing number of Americans believe that colleges do a bad job of preparing students for the job market. Now, if you remember back in 2010, Eric Kelderman said that 55% of the people polled said that college education is necessary. Well, here, 4 years later, you have this comment saying that colleges do a bad job of preparing students for the job market. A poll of students of Americans 18 or older says last month, this is in her article when it came out in 2014, it was the fall of 2013, showed that Americans' opinion of its higher education system is so poor that fully 60% of respondents believe that a few years of work experience provide a bare preparation for almost any job than a college degree. Notice how that, in just a period of about 3 or 4 years, that percentage that Eric Kelderman had quoted, 55%, suddenly has almost totally reversed to 60%. So you might want to look at that idea. You may want to look at the idea about for-profit schools and how they're not necessarily looked at all that highly. You see ads for those all the time. I use the University of Phoenix, so this was a quote from Kevin Carey about that one. It says not that for-profit higher education is inherently bad, that they exist because of failures left by traditional institutions. While old-line research universities were gilding their, as he called it, walled-off academic city-states, the University of Phoenix was building no-frills campuses. Who was more focused on the public interest, he questioned. So you're going to have to choose an approach about education, higher education. You're going to need at least 3 sources with proper citations used in a works cited page to credit those sources. You need to follow MLA format for the citations and for the works cited page. What you need to keep in mind is about if you're only giving your opinion, you're not arguing. You have to show that the situation is problematic. Is there an issue? Have you taken a position on that issue? Do you have good reasons, substantial reasons? Can you show the connection between the support, the reasons you offer, and your view? And have you used good essay format? Again, 800 to 1,000 words or so, you're not confined to that. It is an argument, which means you need to make sure that you have that position stated and you are focused on the concept of higher education. To give you an idea of where you can find some of the information, if you look over here at our library resources, this will give you a sense of the kind of credible sources you can use. You can start with EBSCO here, and if you just type in higher education into, higher education, and do search, you'll be asked to log in, same as you would if you're entering Canvas, and once you're in, it will take you to what it has found about it, and you'll see that you have a number of journals and details here to look at, and the idea of different aspects. Let's not lose our advantage in higher education, the future of higher education, what higher education may look like in the future. There's other ways that you can narrow this down even more by going to the advanced search and put higher education and then put cost. And then do a search there. And you'll see articles here going back for some time, and I can change the date to more recent ones. And so over the last 16, 17 years, this one about the idea about hurdles for student parents, those who have children. How much is too much? Controlling administrative costs. You have this idea about students' expense, rising costs threaten public universities, and they're using Pennsylvania there. You can look at the idea of the other details. You can narrow this even further by going and just looking for full text. Don't think you want to go through almost 53,000 of these. And you can go back up here and put the United States and search there. And that'll limit to about 11,000, a little bit better. And you can see there are a number of different articles here, and you can change it to relevancy to newest. And so you have details here. There's about the for-profit schools, where you have a poll about that. You have details about student loan debt, an overview there. If you look at that particular one, it just goes into some detail about what students owe, the idea about being in debt after one graduates, and the details in that way. There's some other ones to look at as well. So you just go through and just depend upon what your approach is going to be. There's a number of these articles. Another one that you can use, I'm going to close that one out. Under our research databases, we have opposing viewpoints and points of view reference. Each one of these give you two sides of the issue, both pros and cons. And you can literally look at areas of interest. And you'll see they have a number of these that are offered here, just sort of general categories. You can go up here and do the search, such as higher education. And just click on that. And it gives you details about post-secondary education, higher education, the views there, just sort of a general aspect to it. And you can look at some of the goals, idea about the four-year degree, etc. And the idea about certain other aspects that you can look at. If you want to go on to the cost of it, again, you can go to advanced search and put in higher education and put cost. and you can put United States, and you search, and it'll come up with some details here for you. The details of all that. So this is one to look at. If you go browse the issues, and we're just going to go there, you'll see they have a number of these offered for you. And what they use, instead of saying higher education, they have this aspect here, and that I keep having things pop up. Sorry. This idea about Google's plan to disrupt the college degree is exactly what higher education market needs. This was done a couple of years ago. The idea of the debt relief program, student loans suck to begin with, is what that says. That was from last year. This is access and affordability in higher education. You have the idea of, there's one that I was looking for, and I'm not seeing it here. Okay, here it is over here on this side. About students' opinions on the value of higher education. That's what I was looking for. And so you actually have a little graph here, a poll that was taken, and how students feel about higher education. What's really nice about using these sources, here's your citation. You just have to copy and paste that. You have to do a little fixing after you do that. But there's your citation. And you see in this chart how they feel about this. And this is in 2020, so it's around the COVID situation. But you can see that 17%, basically, 15-70% agree that higher education is not worth the cost of students, that's not good quality, and that's a bad idea. When you look at the combined numbers here, 57%, 55%, 49%, basically half of all those respondents somewhat or strongly agree with these statements. That doesn't necessarily set well for higher education, the views that students have. These are the actual students. So this is something you might be able to incorporate and look at. We also have points of view. And again, we'll click on it. And what's good about these are already vetted, means they've been looked at and considered credible sources rather than going online. You don't want to go just to a Google search. That's not how you find sources. You need to look at credible sources, and our library resources are the ones where you want to start. And again, if you look at this one, you will see all sorts of topics here, and you'll see schools and education. And again, there's one about student loan debt. That's something to look at. The idea about the cost of going to school and how much debt students have. The idea about the for-profit universities and whether that's really a way to go with. The idea about free college tuition. That's been proposed for a number of years now. You have a few other details here. Here's about the student loan debt. So if you go up here and you look at the free college tuition, the articles there, this approach, you'll see that this one talks about some of the background and the issue and how you approach it, the history of it, and then what it references today. And then you have two sides. Public college tuition should be free. This one, the opposite. Free college tuition is poorly matched with the needs of students. So you literally have the two sides offered for you here to look at, and that's what Points of View does. It gives you both sides. Same thing with the opposing viewpoints. Let me go back to that one. You'll see, again, here's how you can cite it, and you just copy and paste that one into your works cited page. But when you start looking at these articles, if I can get this to go back to the articles, they actually offer you two different sides for these, where you have viewpoints that student loans are not good. This idea about the Google plan to disrupt it, and the view here that's offered. There's another source that you can go to that works out really well also, and it is procon.org. This is from Britannica Corporation, the encyclopedia people. It is nonpartisan. All they do is they look at issues. And if you look at their issues, and you come to college education, there it is. Is college education worth it? And that's the question that they pose. They give you background about it. And then you can read about the background, about where colleges started in America, the development of college, what's gone on through the years with it, idea about costs and purposes, and the details there. And then they give you some debates about that one that you might be able to use to fine-tune your approach. And then they give you a listing of pro-con arguments. Pro, con. And they pair it all the way through. You have a listing of statements for both sides. And they try to give you about the same number for each side. And I'm just going to look very quickly. You'll see this little number here. This is a quote from a blogger, which does not necessarily mean it's really good. But if you click on the little blue number, it'll tell you where they got that from. It's just a blog spot, which that's not necessarily a good source when you look at it. But over here, whoops, over here, if you click on this one, it talks about a survey that was conducted, and it was conducted by UCLA Education Department. It is trying to look, it's now about 10 years old, of course, but it still gives you some details. So pro-con is a good place to look at for sources and looking at the details, just as our library resources are good to look at. So you want to make sure that you go and use credible sources. If I put college education here instead of higher education, you'll see that this calls up something a little different, not so different, but you'll see the very first aspect is a research starter about higher education industry. And if you look at that one, it just tells you a little bit about the idea about what higher education is about, and they're calling it an industry. And it talks about the details of it and the views about it and advantages to it, and etc. And then the first article is College Education Less Necessary with AI. And this is a very recent article. It came out, last year? Yeah, 2022. The idea about artificial intelligence. You've got details coming out. Of course, you got the artificial intelligence that's able to generate. Well, do we need full college education, or can we just rely on that one? This is one about analysis between higher education level and college students' public mental health, driven by AI. So if you want to look at the idea about is higher education worth it, you may want to focus on about the stress and strain that education can put on people, and that maybe it's not worth it, or maybe all that you have to go through is worth it. This one goes on and talks a little bit further about earning inequality and market power. This is an article from, I'm about to say a little over a year ago. And you can get the full text here. You just click on one of these. And here's the abstract where it summarizes, and then here's the actual article to look at. Go back and you do an HTML, and it calls up to look a little different. It looks like that, this way. So it gives you about the idea about more people graduate from college. Earning inequality has been rising though over the last 50 years. It talks about the idea, is it really worth it? Go to college. As that quote from Kliberman that I quoted in the handout, that 55% of the people in 2010 believed it was necessary to get a college education in order to advance in the workplace. Well, is it really so anymore? So you have details here, earning gaps in education, the details there. And so these are some sources you can look at as well, and we'll go back. And you can see a number of details here that are the kind of articles you want to be looking for. Again, you can go to, there's a number of these articles. They keep going. Click and go to the full text will help. The idea about changing the years will help. So you have some of the details are cut through that way. So again, your focus on the topic should be, of course, on higher education being worth it. Is it, as it says, is it worth the cost? Is it worth the price? And so you get to discuss and focus on that aspect. And that's what you will make sure that you're doing with your with your essay. The use of the sources is necessary because you cannot argue without evidence. And then, of course, formatting. We're going to look very quickly at an example essay here so you can see how it's supposed to look. This is your heading where you have your name, my name, the course, and the date. Here's a centered title, and this is actually over your subject. And then you tab over for paragraphs. And that's how your essay should look. Double space with tabbed paragraphs. Here's your works cited page. They changed the font on this. They should have done so. That did not need to be in that one. It should all be in the same font. This was being typed in Times New Roman. All this should be in Times New Roman as well. But that should also be in that one. But they use their sources. This is from 2015, so they're using an older MLA formatting. But your essay needs to look like this. And folks, I don't know who ever taught you or did not teach you. Blocking, meaning that if this were over here, you did not indent, you're not doing MLA format, folks. You tab over for every paragraph. You hit the tab button, you have a paragraph. You do not have equal spaces. This one has a little extra space here, and it shouldn't do that. It's really easy to fix that. If I were to download this, I'm going to do it very quickly and get this downloaded for you. I'm going to get the downloads opened. And we'll look at this essay. So I'm enabling editing. First thing I want to make sure I do is fix this heading. There's too many spaces in it. So it says 2, but what we want to do is address the line spacing issues and see that where it says 10, no, there shouldn't be anything in between. There you go. Got that fixed. Then likewise, when I go up here and I go line spacing options, you'll see that you can fix that and you hit that number. Don't add extra space between paragraphs. So if I mark the essay, which I'm going to do now, and I came up here and I did this, it's going to adjust that for me. So I no longer have that extra space. So your paragraphs are tabbed over. So they don't look like that, folks. They look like this. There's no extra space between paragraphs, and you hit your tab button again. Folks, again, I'm not sure why, but students keep wanting to submit works which are not in proper formatting. Tab over for your paragraphs, folks. That's what makes a paragraph. When you were younger, you learned about you indent to make a new paragraph. That's what you have to do. You have to indent for the paragraph. You don't include extra spaces, and again, it's real easy to fix it. You can do it also here with that, and you'll see all this is listed here. And again, we don't do that, and you'll see change it to double spacing, and you're good. And so there it is. Now, in regard to the works cited page, again, all that should be in Times New Roman, just as this was, which is an 11. So again, I'm going to mark all this, change it to Times New Roman 11, and marking this one, and not bold, and excuse me, got the wrong one. Click there and go automatic color. There you go. That's how it should look. Actually, should be an extra space here. So okay, and then to fix it, you go up here to paragraph, and you have hanging indentation, and it'll fix it for you. And you want double that, and you hit OK. There you are. Everything is alphabetized. Everything is done in the right format. And so you have that one taken care of. So this is how your essay should look. When you get ready to submit your essay needs to have a heading. The header I took off, in case you're wondering. This one actually did have a header, and I can type that over here where I want to. I can tab it all the way over and type my header, and it'll just be name. Okay. Don't put it in all caps. Let me see if I. That's better. Name 1. Okay. And then click there, and it will appear on every page. Now, what I want to tell it is page number, and you can actually do it this way, and then put your name. And so now it will do the pages the proper way. So just go to where, this idea about header. And again, that can be under insert. And there it is, header. I knew it was there. And then you just choose which one you want to use. And go from there. And include your page number. So that's what we're looking at when you're trying to get the format properly. Folks, again, if you submit your essay without paragraphs, you did not write according to MLA format. If you don't have your citations in here, again, there's a citation. The period does not go after the material, it goes after the citation. You'll see another one here. You'll see this one is in what we call the interior citation, so it doesn't have to be parenthetical because the source is named within the actual sentence. This is a block one, and for block, you put the period after the quoted material, no quotation marks, and then you put your source. Here, you have information being summarized from a source, and you put the period after the parenthetical citation. So this gives you an idea of how to make your essay look according to MLA format. I'm going to go back to the actual handout there. And so you can see that's why I have this one up here. And again, it's not perfect because, again, I don't always give you a perfect one, but it gives you an example. And I wanted to be able to use this one to show some details. That had too many spaces here for the heading, easily fixed. It had extra spaces between paragraphs, easily fixed, as I showed you. Didn't have the works cited page done properly. Changed font, and, both for that and this, and changed color even. And that was an easy fix as well, so I just showed you. So please make sure you're following MLA format. Again, if you need to have, I have the Purdue OWL set up for you to look at. And it gives you how to structure and format everything. You'll also note that I gave you the link to Pro-Con here under the first essay assignment. Again, it just will open in a new window. And again, it takes you to a list of topics. And there's college education being worth it. You can look down here, and you'll see they just have a number of different topics to look at. This idea about one topic after another, it's a good place to when you're trying to think about issues. But when you go to the college education, they have over here information. Did you know? They talk about median incomes versus average college tuition rates, highest paying jobs, fastest growing jobs, student loan debt, highest and lowest tuition, college affordability debate. And this is one to when you look at this one, there are a number of different details here that you can look at. This is some videos that they have here. And again, you can play it and listen to this one and watch that one. And again, they have tools there for you to consider. They have how to cite this page. There's your citations for MLA right there. The idea of this one about the highest paying jobs, again, goes back to 2010. and how it's changed over the last 10, 12 years. Which jobs are growing, which ones are not, what kind of degree do they require, and you'll start seeing some of this over here. But here are the fastest growing jobs that are taking place. Personal care aides. You can have less than a high school education. It's going to grow. Now, the average salary is not necessarily that great. This is 2010. It has gone up since then. The idea of brick masons, stone masons, tile setters, carpenters, again, what you can expect. The idea of plumbers, again, it's gone up. This is 2010 is what they have here. Again, there are more, it's gone up since this time, so they just haven't updated some of the standards for it. They give you some of these details where you can look at those. The idea about median income and cost. And so they give you like 2016. And again, they haven't updated. It'll take a little while, but they give you some details about what it's cost in the past and how it's risen according to what they have as their latest figures, which are now 7 years old. But you can get some ideas here when you look at those. So I have you pro-con also, so it's easy to access and find for your topic. And again, MLA guidelines are talked about here, how to cite the sources. This is a video for you to watch and hand out to it. I have some of those. This takes you to South Carolina as their view. We have, again, let me close that one, some details for you to look at. And so hopefully, and again, the MLA update is there for you. This is a video about MLA style. That's what I was looking for. This is 2016, the 8th edition. We now have the 9th edition, but it's not significantly different in regard to what you have to worry about for your MLA format and style. So again, I have these up here for you. So as you're working on this topic, as you're working on your essay, keep in mind several key points. First, you have to be arguing. You have to take a side on the issue. You need to take the issue and narrow it down. Higher education worth the price. Well, what approach are you taking? You may want to argue that it's not necessary anymore, that individuals can still have a good standard of living without a college education. That's fine to argue that one. You may argue that college education has the cost has gone up to a position where it's now prohibitive, and students are going into debt for it, which limits the worthiness of a college education. And you get to discuss about student debt, student loans, and what steps should be taken to alleviate that so that higher education does become worth the price. You may want to discuss the idea about free college tuition, which was a proposal that has been made for a number of years now, going back really to President Obama. He offered in his State of the Union address, he offered a comment about having free college tuition for at least the first 2 years, the American Promise. And it was reintroduced a few years after that in the Senate. I think it was the Senate that made a proposal. It could have been House Representatives. But you might want to discuss that idea and say that way it would be worth it. You may want to look at this idea, as I said, in 2010, you had 55% of the people saying it's necessary. 2014, 60% believe that working is better preparation than a college degree. That's a big shift in 4 years. So you're going to choose a particular approach over college education, higher education, and whether it's worth it. So make sure that you're addressing the topic, the idea of looking at the approach, tying it into the issue, using support, drawing from the library resources I showed you, or from procon.org. Don't just go to any website, and follow MLA formatting. And again, I'm going to show you one more time the idea about the citation here, I got it right here. I knew I had it. If I were going to go to this one, over here I have citing, and I just have to scroll, and there's the MLA one. I copy it, and I can open up a document, and then I can paste this in. But you'll notice it didn't do the hanging indentation, but that's an easy fix. I just go up here and mark this. I go to paragraphs, hanging, change it to double, get rid of the 8, and there it is. And so the next source, if I had another source, close that out. I go to another one. Let me go up here and do an advanced search. Here's cost of college trends and analysis. Again, this is actually a book. Okay, has 100 pages or so. If I want to cite it, again, MLA format. There it is. I just mark it, copy it, go to my works cited page. I'm going to paste it up here because Horace comes before as you. And so I have this one. Then, of course, I need to title my page. There we go. And so I have my works cited page. I have 2 sources already, and just working from there. And you'll see that all the information I need is put in there. And so I go back to this, close that out. If I want to look at it, you can look at the table of contents of this page, and you can bear with while it opens it up, and you can see the details here. Again, I was looking at trends, where you have Chapter 1, Post-Secondary Financial Trends, and out-of-pocket net price for college, Chapter 2. And so you have comments here, and details here that are offered, and the idea about the government offices and what they're looking at. That's just sort of a breakdown of some of the details. You have to keep going down here. Many four-year schools use criteria such as grades, test scores, academic preparedness, and other credentials in the admission process. Their students typically attend full-time. In year, this was done in 2014, so the details are a little old. That in 2009, 2010, public and private nonprofit schools served a total of 18.4 million students. And then it talks a little bit about some of the degrees that are offered and school revenues and how they're generated, graduation rates. Federal government offers several forms of financial aid, primarily loans and grants. And that it talks about other details that you can go through, the revenues that schools are relying on. So again, quite a number of details that are offered in this book, but you have to read through it, and that's research is part of it. With pro-con, you've got details here where they offer, for instance, student loan debt is crippling college graduates, and it gives you this detail. About 44 million Americans owe more than $1.5 trillion in debt. Where did they get that information? Well, from this article, and also from the Federal Reserve government. If you'll notice, that's what it showed, is 125. So 45% of people with student loan debt say college was not worth it. Where did they get that comment? Well, that's from Consumer Reports from just a few years ago. You have others over here, though. Only 34% of American jobs require a high school diploma or less, compared to 72% in the 70s. That research at 99% of job growth between 2010 and 2016 went to workers with associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, or graduate degrees. Again, where did that come from? Well, came from researchers at Georgetown University. So you have information from both sides. Again, college graduates have more and better employment opportunities. And so again, you have the details here, the sources. So using your sources will be important. Finding your sources to help support it, making sure that you follow through with how the work should appear. Again, I have a sample one here for you to look at, which gives you an idea about higher education as well, in the cost and details of it, how that was developed. So I have you a couple of articles here for you to look at that may prove beneficial as well to give you an idea of how do you approach this topic. So I want you to be working on this. I realize that some of you sent me, oh, let me go back to this. Some of you sent me some information that you were out of power during the week that we were out a couple of weeks ago. I thought the 18th was still a sound date for you to be able to get your work in. It gives you over the weekend. But if you will note, the window, the availability of this actually goes through the 19th. So you actually have through Sunday evenings. I gave you a little extension there, a little extra time for you to use in case you need to work on that. So again, if you have any questions about how to find your sources that you need, if you have any questions about formatting, if you've already submitted your essay and turned it in and you didn't do the proper formatting, you still have the opportunity to resubmit it. You just go through your essay, fix it, resubmit it. Make sure that you're addressing the proper topic and work from there, and you'll be able to submit it. Submission can go all the way through until the due date, so make sure that you have the opportunity to get that done. And again, make sure you're following the proper formatting of your essay. And one more time, this is how it should look, with a header, your name, heading looking this way, a title. They just use the topic here, and then you'll see that the formatting is done properly, tabbed over, proper size font, use of sources, properly cited, the idea of details here, the idea about when you're using more than 3 typed lines, you tab it over twice to create a block format, the idea about details here, and then the works cited page. Now I want you to note one other aspect on this conclusion. You don't see the phrase in conclusion. Folks, when you're writing an essay, don't use that phrase. You don't have to tell me in conclusion. If I can't tell it's your conclusion when I'm reading the essay, you didn't do a very good job with your conclusion. The conclusion flows naturally out of all the preceding material that you've offered, all the other paragraphs. You do not have to signpost saying in conclusion. That's for a speech. With a speech, the audience is not aware that you're ending. In reading an essay, the audience is aware that you're finished because there are no more words. Do not use in conclusion. Do not use slang expressions when you're writing unless you're quoting. Do not use contractions in formal writing unless, again, it's in a quote. So you'll notice it says college is not. It does not say isn't. Up here, it does say income will always be. No, it says income will always be. You do not have contractions here. So please, no contractions. That's not standard English formatting. Do not use colloquial and casual expressions. For instance, folks, a lot, unless you're talking about a place where you're going to park your car, or you build your house, or an assortment of items being put up for auction, do not use a lot. And definitely do not use it as an adverb, saying, oh, I do that a lot. No, you do it frequently or often. You do not do it a lot. So there are certain aspects that you need to pay attention to when you're writing. Look at your sentence structure, pay attention to your grammar, pay attention to your mechanics, using proper punctuation and details. Make sure you're following MLA standards, making sure that your essay looks the way it's supposed to. And so again, keep all those details in mind, and I'm looking forward to reading the essays as they come in. Again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will get this posted very shortly and send a notice about it posting.